Hi everybody, Willie here with Sharkfin Shears, and something we take serious at Sharkfin is understanding what you're about to invest in. And what we've come up with is something we call how, what, where. As you know, throughout your career, you're going to purchase shears, maybe even several times, and it can become quite a large investment. So we want you to be able to differentiate between a $100 shear and an $800 shear, or a $1,800 shear for that matter. So these are the three things that we say you should know before buying a shear: how it's made, what it's made of, and where it's made. How a shear is made. There are three main ways for making a shear: cast, forged, hand welded. A cast shear is made out of a mold. You melt metal down to liquid form, you put it in the mold, it cools and hardens, and you're left with a blade and a handle. When liquid metal cools, it forms little air pockets. So think of like an English muffin when you cut it in half, right? You have all these little nooks and crannies, right? You can't fill those in. So what happens is if you drop the shear, it's much more likely to be damaged and much less likely to be able to be repaired. Cast shears also, once the mold's made, they're fairly inexpensive to make. They're just mass produced. And they also have a shorter lifespan than forged or forged hand welded shears. Next, we want to talk about forging, if you're familiar with this, maybe a horseshoe or something. In our case, we're talking about shears. So we're going to take a piece of steel, we're going to stick it in fire until it's glowing orange. That's going to expand all those molecules, right? We take it out, put it on an anvil, and we forge or hammer it. This is going to move, it's going to bounce the molecules off of each other. And then lastly, we quench it or cool it, generally in oil. What happens is all those molecules rush back together, and you're left with a denser, more durable, longer lasting shear. So it's really a lifetime shear if you maintain it properly. And then the last thing we talk about is hand forged, hand welded. So what happens is the blades and the handles are forged separate. We don't need the high quality metal in the blade or in the handles that we do in the blades. So we do that separately. This also makes for what we call a more tunable shear. So in the event that the shear is dropped and damaged, it's much more likely to be able to be repaired by one of our certified technicians than having to purchase a brand new shear. What shears are made of is the next thing we'll talk about. All professional haircutting shears are made of steel. There are three main countries that produce this steel: Japan, Germany, and the United States, right? So Japanese Hitachi, Japanese Achi steel are the steels that we're talking about specifically today. So inside of this, we talk about four main steels that are used for making professional haircutting shears. 440A is your base level, if you want to say it that way, then 440C, VG10, and then ATS 314. Very simply put, in order not to put you guys to sleep today, right? The better the steel, the better it'll do things. Specifically, dry cut, slide cut, point cut, how long it'll go in between sharpenings. These things are all important when it comes to understanding your shear. And most importantly, the better the metal, generally the more expensive it is as well. And then the last thing we want to talk about is where shears are made. There are four main countries manufacturing shears if you include Pakistan. Sharkfin Shears, we use all Japanese steel, all Japanese components, and our final assembly is done in Korea or China. And the main reason for this is so we can offer you an amazing tool at an affordable price. So knowing where your shear is made tells you a lot about what components are made, what type of steel is made, the process in making the shear. So whenever you're going to a trade show or someone comes into your shop, these are three things you should know about any shear before purchasing it, so you can compare apples to apples, if you will. So I hope this information helps you today. We want you to invest your money wisely. You work hard for your money, and we care about that, whether you spend it with us or someone else. We want you to have the information you deserve to have in order to properly purchase a shear. So thanks for joining us today, and remember, it's nice to be nice.